Coming up on Doctype, we'll show you how to navigate the winding maze of web navigation. Then, learn how to paint pretty pictures using the canvas tag. So prepare yourself because we're about to turn it up to 12. It's time for Doctype.
This episode of Doctype is brought to you by Think Vitamin Membership and GoDaddy.
I'm Nick Pettit.
And I'm Jim Hoskins.
And you're watching Doctype. Whether you're a designer that thinks JavaScript is a decaf latte,
or a developer who can't tell his margin from his padding, Doctype has the latest tips, tricks, and tools to help make you the emperor of the interwebs.
Oh my yes. So, we have some good news and some bad news. The good news is Doctype is about to become a whole lot more awesomer.
But the bad news is we're going to need a couple weeks off to make that happen.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a couple things like, maybe sprucing up the set, doing maybe some different segments. We're not really sure yet, but that is where you come in. We need your ideas, and so if you want to see different stuff on Doctype, if you want to see, different segments, or if you have any other ideas about how we can improve the show, let us know in the comments.
Exactly.
Or send us an email at questions@doctype.tv.
Even if it's not a question, you can send it to questions.
Yes, you can send us a suggestion to questions.
We've been going for 35 weeks, 36 weeks by the time we start our breaks straight, so we haven't had any time off to think about and try to improve our show, and that's what we really want to do. So it really all comes from you. Please send us your feedback, your comments, and your suggestions.
Definitely. So we'll have this episode, next week's episode, and then we're going to go on a short couple-week break. Just want to let you know.
We'll be back, we promise.
Yes. Anyway, I am going to be talking about web navigation.
And I'm going to be doing part 1 of 2 of a Canvas tutorial.
Let's check it out. When designing navigation, it's always a good idea to use standard conventions. Let's take a look at an example. You should never force your site visitors to guess as to where a link will take them. For example, on an e-commerce site, a shopping cart icon, or the phrase shopping cart, has a very standard meaning and provides a real-world metaphor. Some sites might use slightly different terminology to give it some flair and personality, and that's fine. For example, you might call it a shopping basket instead of a shopping cart. However, if you, as a site visitor, were to come to an e-commerce site and see a $sign instead of a shopping cart, would you know what it meant? It's easy to say yes in hindsight, but many people would likely be confused by this. To them, it might mean payment without being able to review their items. This is just one example of a de facto navigation standard, and there are many others, such as the phrase sitemap. Stick to these standards, and users will be more educated about how to use your site, even when they're using it for the first time. This should almost go without saying, but so many websites still don't have consistent navigation. This is really important. When a user comes to your site and they identify the main navigation down the side or across the top or wherever, they expect it to look the same and be in the same place once they click a link. This might seem extremely obvious, but there are many sites on the web that still make this mistake, probably without even realizing it. Imagine if something like this were to happen in real life. You're following directions on a map, you make a left turn on a road, and then you look down at the map again and find that it's completely different. It sounds bizarre, and it is, but imagine how lost a user feels when they click a link and the navigation changes or disappears. At that point, they're not worried about the content, they're just worried about getting back to where they were before. As a minor side note, it's okay to have alternative forms of navigation disappear or change outside of the main navigation. For example, on the homepage of Doctype, the episode navigator towards the middle of the page is completely unique and doesn't appear anywhere else on the site. The navigation at the top, however, always stays in the same place. When a visitor first hits your site, the navigation should give them an idea of the structure of the site and what the scope of the information is. A site can reveal structure in a number of ways. It starts with the name of the major navigation items. For example, if a site had items like portfolio, blog, and about, I don't even need to see the website to know that it's probably a personal homepage. On the other hand, if you're a very large corporation and need to convey lots of information, such as your products, support, shareholder information, and so on, you might want to consider having some major categories with one sub-level of navigation. This will help the user understand how information is grouped on your site. At the same time, you don't want to overwhelm the visitor. Apple does a great job of this on their website and names their top-level navigation primarily based on their products. By clicking something like iPhone, I can assume that anything I might want to know about the iPhone will be there, such as hardware specifications, feature lists, and how to purchase. If you have any navigation tips that you'd like to share, let us know in the comments over at doctype.tv/canvas. Now, a lot of you have been asking us to go more in depth in these episodes and show you exactly how to implement all this stuff.
Now, that's a lot of work, but fortunately, that's what we do over at Carsonified. If you haven't checked out Think Vitamin memberships, you should take a look.
Think Vitamin membership is the place to learn about the web. When you become a member, you get unlimited access to a huge library of in-depth tutorial videos that covers CSS3, HTML5, jQuery, UX, and more. And if that's not enough, 2 new videos are added every day, so you'll always be up to date with the latest design techniques and web technology. You also get tickets to amazing online conferences that cover topics like the business of web design, iPhone app development, and web typography. You can watch live and ask questions to the speakers, and you can always rewatch them later. Check it out at membership.thinkvitamin.com. It's all the training you'll ever need for less than $1 a day.
The canvas allows you to draw whatever you want using JavaScript. Today we're going to go over getting started with the canvas tag. The actual canvas tag is the easiest part of working with a canvas. You simply need to place a canvas tag into your page, give it a height and a width, and a way for you to get a reference to it using JavaScript, and that's usually an ID. The rest of the work is really going to be done using JavaScript. Of course, we only want to start the drawing operations after the actual canvas is ready to be manipulated, so all of our code should be deferred until after the page loads. You can use jQuery's document.ready event or any other convenience, but to keep it simple for us, we will write all of our code inside of a function and call that function inside the body's onload property. Next, we need to get the canvas tag, and from that, get its 2D drawing context. To get the canvas, I'm going to call document.getElementById, and to get the context on the canvas element, I'm going to call getContext and pass it the string 2D. Now, some browsers don't support the canvas, so you should test for the getContext method before calling it. And if it doesn't exist, you should implement some fallback functionality. The canvas exposes a very simple API for drawing, but with these simple tools, we can create games, animations, and pseudo 3D environments. When you work with the canvas, each step often consists of several method calls, setting up the fill and stroke styles, setting the positions, and drawing the shape. There are 2 main ways to draw a shape, either by fill or by stroke. And there are 2 different styles, fill style and stroke style, that complement these methods. To draw a simple rectangle, first we want to set a fill style. This is a normal CSS color, so it can be a hex value, RGB, RGBA, HSL, or even a color name. In our case, we're going to set it to F00, or red. Next, we call fillRect, which takes an X, a Y, a width, and a height. Now the canvas coordinate space is at the top left, just like in the browser. So the X and Y of 10 and 20 will be 10 pixels from the left and 20 pixels from the top. We then say the width is 60 and the height is 100. All of these are done in pixels. We can create another rectangle with a different fill style by resetting the fill style property and calling fillRect again. This time you can see the fill style is an RGBA color, meaning it's blue with a 50% opacity. Our new rectangle is over top our first rectangle, and you can see how the transparency interacts. We can even outline a rectangle by setting a stroke style and calling strokeRect. One last thing we can do is clear out the pixels in a space by calling clearRect. This removes any pixels from the canvas in that area. If you're to call clearRect with an origin of 0, 0 and the height and width of your canvas, you would then be creating a blank canvas to work on. There are a lot of other drawing tools available in the Canvas API, but try combining the rectangles, the clearRect method, and the animation techniques we saw in episode 29 to create your own animated canvas. Show us what you come up with in the comments at doctype.tv/canvas.
Listen, you need a domain name. You know it, I know it, but where are you gonna go get it? GoDaddy, that's where. If you're looking to drive viewers to your video content, then .tv domains are where it's at. .tv domains are perfect for podcasters, video bloggers, and anyone with something to say, and they're available now at GoDaddy.com. Heck, where do you think we got Doctype.tv from? So we know you all get your domains from GoDaddy, but whose code are you gonna use? Enter the code Doctype3 when you check out and save an additional 10% off your entire order. Some restrictions apply, see site for details. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com. That's it for this week. Until next time, be sure to check us out at facebook.com/Doctype and follow at DoctypeTV on Twitter.
And if you have a question you'd like answered on a future episode of Doctype, send us an email at questions@doctype.tv.
And if you subscribe via iTunes or RSS, you'll never miss an episode of Doctype, so why not?
So until next Tuesday, remember that every great web page starts with Doctype.